Alright, what is going on, everybody? This is Trudger MC, and here we are back at it again with some more of the McFarlane Toys Batman Forever Build-A-Figure wave. This time we have the Question Mark Man, or the Puzzler, or Captain Kill, or just a friend, but you can call him the Riddler. And if that was over the top, I can never tell. So, in case you can't tell, I am a fan of this particular Riddler. I think the figure looks really good, and the guy that they are adapting this of, I think Jim Carrey was a really good Riddler. Definitely deserves more credit than some people give him. So, yeah, and in case you're wondering what he is like compared to the other live-action film Riddler, well, not including Frank Gorshin, here he is with Paul Dano Riddler. Clearly a different take of the character entirely, but I do really like the way that these two look next to each other, sort of a compare and contrast of the different styles, but they look really well together. And then here he is with his arch enemy, the Batman. Not because he has to be, but because he chooses to be. So they look really good together. I think that's a really good comparison. And then here he is, just for fun, against Marvel Select Spider-Man, because, well, let's face it, this guy is basically in all my videos now. So, here he is, and we will see how tall he stands. We will start with inches, so to the bottom of his really weird-looking shoes, that are also really cool. Looks like, including the little poof of hair that he has, looks like he is about 7.5 inches, give or take. And then for centimeters, again, with the bottom of his shoe to the top of his head, including the hair poof, looks like he is about 18.5 centimeters, give or take. So he has some height to him. I think that's appropriate for Jim Carrey. I don't know exactly how tall Jim Carrey is, but Riddler in the movie was a pretty tall and lanky guy, and I think that they adapted that really well. He's not super buff, but he wasn't in the movie, so I think it's appropriate. I will say for the face sculpt, I don't really 100% see Jim Carrey in there, but to be completely honest, I actually like that, where he looks a little dorky in this action figure adaptation. But you know what? I actually think that works really well for him, because Riddler is kind of a dorky guy, and with how over-the-top this guy was in the movie, it's definitely appropriate. Again, like, I don't fully see Jim Carrey, but I actually like that. It makes him look more like the Riddler and less like Jim Carrey playing the Riddler. And I like that. He does have a million question marks all over his body. I don't know exactly how many. I'm not going to count because those are a lot, but he has a lot on the front, on the sides with both of his arms, and a little bit on his legs. And then on the back, he has even more. This guy is riddled with question marks. And that's part of the design. And I will say I do have some weird paint smudge on the back of his neck there. But I don't really think that much of it, because I'm not going to be displaying him like this. I'm going to be displaying him like this, or off to the side, or, you know, something like that. So I think that overall, I mean, there's not really a whole lot to say, because, well, it's a guy in a green suit covered with a bunch of black question marks. And I think that all of it looks really well. It's really well painted, really well designed. His shoes, I do like how how they're not completely black. There's like some really dark green on there. I don't know how well you can see it, but in person it's pretty obvious that there's black and there's dark green, and I actually really like that. And his hair, I think his hair looks really good. That color, I'm not entirely sure what you would call that color, but it's accurate to the movie. The mask is good. So really, just in general, like, as a whole, this figure looks really good. He's a really good adaptation of this particular character design, and I think it works really well. So there's not really a whole lot else to say, because he doesn't have a cape or anything like that. He's just kind of like this, and that's okay. So as far as articulation is concerned, he can look up that far. He can look down that far. He does have his head on some ball joints, so it can really move around all over the place. You can have him do that if you wanted, for some reason. But yeah, he can definitely his head is a little wobbly on mine, but that's okay. He can be like the guesser bobblehead that he has in his office. If you've seen the movie, you would know. His arms actually surprisingly do not go up very far, even with this washer type joint. They only go up about that far, so that's not a lot, to be honest. Not really the best, but his arms do have really good rotation. There is a bicep swivel, which doesn't actually break up the sculpt all that much on either side, so that's pretty good. I like that. Considering you have all the question marks, it doesn't break up the sculpt. I like that. He does have a double jointed elbow, which does look kind of weird, but you get a full thing there. I think that's pretty good. And then for the arms, well, that's about it for the arms, but then for the hands, he does have a bit of a ball joint there and a rotation. It's really loose on this side for some reason, but that's okay. I guess it's kind of loose on that side too, but yeah. So for his torso, using both joints, both up here and down here, he can go back that far, and he can go forward, not including the leg articulation. He can go forward, not very far at all. Okay. So far, not the best articulation, but I think it sort of works. And then for his legs, they can go out that far, which is not too bad. He looks kind of weird doing that. But yeah, he can go out that far, and then he can go forward pretty far. It does kind of stretch the diaper a little bit, but that's okay. They do go forward, they do go back a little bit, and I think that is okay. And then for the thigh swivel, he doesn't really have one, but he does have, in fact, a double jointed knee, as you would expect with McFarlane figures, and that's pretty good. And then for his ankles, kind of showed it off a little bit, but for his ankles, they can go forward that far, that's pretty good. They can go back that far, that's also pretty good. And then the toe articulation, that actually looks really good. Sometimes they kind of break up the sculpt a little bit with the toe articulation, but they didn't with this one, and I think it looks really good. So I don't personally care that much for toe articulation, but I think that the way they did it with this figure, it definitely checks out. So that is about all we have for this guy, just as he is. Now, he did come in the package. He did actually come holding his cane, which is really good. It's a little bit warped, but that's okay. It's a soft plastic, so you'd probably expect that. So he does hold it pretty well, and what I actually like to do is have him holding it where it's more or less like this, and that's kind of accurate to the way he was using it when he was dancing around Wayne Manor, where he's using this to open doors and all of that. So I think that looks good. And then if you don't want to have him holding the cane, well, he does have alternate hands. He has a fist for his left hand and sort of an open gesture type right hand. And he also comes with one of his bombs that he uses, where he throws like 1,000,000 of these around in the Batcave to destroy everything. So it's supposed to be a wind-up thing that, you turn this and then you let it go and it blows up. But there's no rotation here, but that's okay. But it does look really good for what it is. It's basically just supposed to be this, and I think that's effective. He does also come with a display stand, but that's the least interesting out of all these. No offense, but it just is, especially with the guy being this extra. And then he does also come with a trading card. Now, I didn't take it out because, well, it's the same kind of blurb that you get. You can kind of see it back there. Here's a better shot if you're not sure of what the picture is. There it is. So it's a blurb. It's the same blurb that we got for the other figure. So if you see my Batman review, you'd know what it says, where it's basically just a brief summary of the movie. It just says that the guy's name is Edward Nygma, not Bruce Wayne or Dick Grayson. So there's that, and then I'm not counting the bat body, because that's not for, that's not for the guy that just fell over. That's for the Build-A-Figure. That's why it says Collect to Build Nightmare Bat. And we will be doing that soon. Don't you worry. We're going to be seeing this guy pretty soon. But yeah, this gives you an idea of who comes with what, because it shows 1, 2, 3, 4, and it says 1, 2, 3, 4 with that, and since Riddler is number 3, it lines up with that, and yeah, sure enough, that is what he comes with. So I feel like overall, this figure is really solid. If you wanted Jim Carrey Riddler, this definitely checks out. Like I said, the face doesn't fully match Jim Carrey, at least for me, but I actually think that that works to its advantage because it makes him look dorkier in this film, or this, he looks dorkier in this action figure form than he did in the film, so I think that works to his advantage given the character. But yeah, I think that he checks out. Again, here he is compared to a very completely different design of the same character, more or less. So, yeah, definitely interesting, but I think it checks out. And, yeah, so that's about all I have to say. I would recommend this figure. I think he's really good. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see the rest of the Batman Forever Build-A-Figure wave that is still yet to come, then do be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And other than that, I will see you all later. Goodbye.